Hey, Peace Psych. Happy Hurricane Day. I hope all of you had a restful 4-day weekend. As you can have probably looked outside, it's 8 o'clock this morning and it's sunny outside. So I'm assuming tomorrow we will be together, which is great news, which means you will be testing on brains and scans tomorrow afternoon. So tomorrow you do have a test, 25 questions, all multiple choice. I'm going to go over a bunch of answers from your focus and on your study guide to make sure everyone's in a great spot for tomorrow. Because next week we have really complicated work. We're doing the brain. How exciting! So since we're doing the brain tomorrow or starting on Thursday, we really need to wrap this up because this is one of the easier subjects of the course. So we are going to kind of grind through today. So I'm so glad you're watching my video. We have a lot to cover, so hopefully at the end of the video you will feel like we got a lot done. I'm going to help you fill in all of your focus and study guide. So let's get to it. I do have 2 cats and a dog. They're all currently distracted at the moment, so if you hear some scuttering around, that's the animals. So anyway, let's get to it. So if you look at your focus, if you look at your focus, we're going to start filling in some of those answers. I hope you don't mind. I've already taken the time to go ahead and write some stuff down for you to make it a little bit easier for you. So looking at question number 1, which we did not answer in class on Thursday, we did focus on the back, and I'm going to kind of answer a bunch of those questions. So here we go. So explain how your body responds to having your finger smashed to a door. Use all the following terms: pain receptors, sensory neuron, sensory neurons, motor nerves, interneurons, brain, and spinal cord. So when you get your finger smashed in the car door, the sensory neurons in your finger detect damage being done in the pain receptors located in your finger. So everywhere throughout your body you have pain receptors, and they are the ones processing information that will then send information through your sensory pathways, which will carry that information. So when your finger is smashed in the car door, the sensory neurons in your finger detect damage being done in the pain receptors located in your finger. The sensory neurons then carry the neural impulse from the sensory neurons in your fingers through the peripheral nervous system in the spinal cord. So once the message is sent, it's going to go all the way down your hand, all the way through your sensory pathway, all the way to it gets to your spinal cord. And of course, just like we've talked about numerous times already, once it hits the spinal cord, it's like a highway, a super highway, and sends the message all the way to your brain at a super fast speed. Once the neural message hits the spinal cord, the message is sent to the brain. In the brain, the interneuron processes the message and creates a motor response. Now, how your brain processes information is in motor neurons, but they send motor neurons to process that information. The brain will send a motor neuron, such a neural message, down your spinal cord to your hand and through your motor pathway from your brain. So once the message is received in your motor neurons in your hand, you then shake your hand in pain. So the message goes up your sensory pathways, goes to your spinal cord, then to your brain, which has interneurons to process it. Then it sends motor neurons down your spine into your arm, and then it is going to force your hand to respond with a physical movement from your motor neurons. So if you need to pause the video in order to finish writing that down, you're more than welcome. We've kind of talked about this process already, so it shouldn't be too tricky for you. So let's talk about a reflex arc, which is your next component. So what is a reflex arc, what it does, explain what the reflex arc is, what it does, and provide an example. A reflex arc is when your spinal cord responds to messages from specific parts of your body, in parentheses reflex, in order to protect the body from harm. Okay, so that's your basic thing. A perfect example of this is your knee, which we're going to talk about here in a second. The sensory neurons send the message to your spinal cord, and then the spinal cord immediately responds, which doesn't require the brain's input, increases reaction of movement by the motor neurons. Increases reaction of movement by the motor neurons. A perfect example of a reflex arc is the reflex found in our knees, parentheses, under our kneecap. There you go. We kind of talked about this last week, so we're just giving more details. So a reflex arc is when our body tries to protect our extremities and protect us from any danger, evolutionarily, of course. And so it immediately responds with the spinal cord instead of having that delay of going all the way to your brain. And it's just in order to increase the speed of transmission and just to ensure a faster response. So if you need to pause in order to finish writing that, you are more than welcome to, but I'm going to keep going because it's a day off and we want to get this done as fast as possible. Now for number 3 on your focus, it should have been done on Thursday. If it is not done on yours because you weren't there on Thursday, I would watch my video from Thursday and we filled that all in for you. Okay, so looking at question number 4. List the responsibilities of the sympathetic nervous system versus the parasympathetic. So your sympathetic nervous system is responsible for fight or flight. Oh, I gotta fix that. It's fight or flight, not flight or flight. Fight or flight response. That's when your body decides whether you're going to get involved or run away from something. Like some people, when they see a bear, decide they're going to fight the bear. Some people say, I'm going to run up the hill, and that's fight or flight. That your sympathetic is in charge of that. Pupil dilation is another one. Dilation is when your eyes get bigger. Eyes get bigger is a pupil dilation. If you've ever been to a eye doctor or an optometrist, when they make your eyes bigger so they can see into the back of your eye, like the pupil gets super huge, that's what pupil dilation is. Increased sweating, increased heart rate, increased blood pressure are all the components. It's in charge of getting your body ready for an exciting event. Okay, so it's in charge of getting your body ready for an exciting event. So it is increasing stress to ensure quick responses. Okay, so that's what your sympathetic nervous system is doing. It's in charge of getting your body ready for anything coming at it. All of us have been in a situation where you get that gut-wrenching feeling where like, oh no, something's happening, something's gonna happen, and like you start paying way more attention, you start getting that nervous anxiety feeling. All of those components play a huge impact, and that's your sympathetic. So it excites your body, and that is the biggest component. It excites your body for quick responses. Okay, so that's what your sympathetic does. Okay, now your parasympathetic is on the opposite. Now your parasympathetic, sometimes called the rest and digest system, so it's all about calming you down, and ensuring you have what your body needs. Okay, so it's all about conserving energy. Remember, if your sympathetic is here to excite you, your parasympathetic has to calm you down. On Thursday, we talked about homeostasis. Now, homeostasis is when your body has an equilibrium. You're not too hot, you're not too cold. You're not hungry, you're not too full. That perfect comfort stage. That's what your sympathetic and parasympathetic are doing. So if your sympathetic excites you, your parasympathetic has to calm you down. So it's going to constrict your pupils or make them smaller. Okay, so if one opens, makes your pupils bigger, this one obviously has to make it smaller. It increases digestion. The reason why it increases digestion is to get more nutrients to replenish after a stressful event. If you've ever gone through a really stressful event, like a car accident or Even taking the AP exam is a super stressful event. You're probably starving after the fact. And the reason why you're starving is because your body uses so many resources to excite your body to prepare for that stress. Your parasympathetic is like, oh my God, we need to replenish all this nutrients that we just lost with all this excitement. So it replenishes your body. So that's why anytime like you have like a super stressful event, after it, you really feel like starving to death because your body needs all those resources, and your parasympathetic is trying to ensure that you have what you need, which is pretty cool. And then it slows down your heart rate. Remember, if the sympathetic excites you, the parasympathetic calms you down, and that's the biggest component of it. It's all about calming your body down, and that's what they do. If I could spell, that'd be great. So sympathetic excites your body for quick response, and then your parasympathetic calms your body down. So there you go. Those are your two big things for that column. Now, for all of your brain scans and all that stuff over here, we did that on Thursday. So if you do not have that done, I would definitely watch my video because we went over all of these in class and covered those answers. So at this moment, if you were in class on Thursday or watched my video on Thursday, you should have completed your focus. So you're welcome. So let's look at your study guide to make sure everyone is on the same page for that. So let me pull it up real quick. So your central nervous system, we didn't really get to talk about that too much. That is your brain, and I'm just going to make it so it's easier for you guys to see. Ooh, I don't need that big. Ooh, definitely don't need that big. 18. We'll see how that goes. All right, so central nervous system, of course, is the brain and spinal cord. This is where all your inner neurons are living and functioning. The brain makes the decisions, interprets, let's use better language, you're right, interprets all sensory information, and responds with motor neurons. The brain is made up of interneurons. Perfect. Spinal cord carries information from peripheral nervous system to the brain. Okay, the spinal cord is responsible for responding to reflexes, which is pretty cool. Reflex arc, the spine responds with movement when a reflex arc is triggered. The reflex occurs to protect the body. There you go. No brain needed. Needed for response. Perfect. Afferent or sensory neurons, you need to know both. They send information from the PNS or peripheral nervous system to the central nervous system. Okay. Application. They carry they tell the brain what's happening in the body. Perfect. Efferent or motor neurons, they are sent from the brain to the peripheral nervous system or PNS. Okay. They cause muscles to move. Perfect. They allow the body to move and react. Perfect. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to process information faster and more effectively. Neuroplasticity allows quick responses, quick processing, and quick responses. It decreases as you age. So, for instance, you've probably noticed that as you've gone into your teens, that your hand-eye coordination has improved since you were a little kid. You don't drop as much stuff anymore. That's neuroplasticity. Your brain is functioning much faster. But then you will get to my age in your 30s and things start taking a little bit longer for your brain to process. And that's because my neuroplasticity is starting to get old. And then when I turn 60, I will have a much slower brain. And then at 90s, it's going to be like super slow. So that's neuroplasticity. As you get older in your teens and in your 20s is when it's going to be in the sharpest position, which is why most of our athletes, professional athletes, are in their mid-20s, because that's when your brain is at its sharpest and it can send and fire more information more effectively. So think about it. With baseball players, for instance, they have to be able to move, be able to see something, the baseball coming at them, and respond immediately with a moving their hands in order to get the bat where it needs to be in order to make a big hit. All of those things, your brain has to fire super fast to process that information, especially if it's coming at you like 90 miles an hour. And that's all your neuroplasticity, is how sharp your brain is. Everyone's neuroplasticity is different. Everyone's is always kind of changing, whether getting sharper or getting duller. And your best athletes, especially with small micro movements like baseball, they have really sharp neuroplasticity, which means their brain thinks really quickly in the firing of their motor pathways, which is really cool. So anyway, peripheral nervous system is everything except your spinal cord and your brain. Brings information, is everything except, and it's going to brings information to your brain. That's what it does. Somatic nervous system. Your somatic nervous system is going to be everything. Your somatic nervous system is all the movements that your body makes by choice. It controls all voluntary muscle movement, which is pretty cool. So if you like to dance, that's it. If walking is that, running, cooking, all of that, typing right now is my somatic nervous system is typing what I want it to. Now, sometimes it does it as better than I would like, as you can see, effectively. Sometimes it's better than others, sometimes not. But that's it. So your sensory pathway is the neural pathway that connects our sensory receptors to our central nervous system. Okay, they carry the neural impulses to the brain. Okay, so anywhere a sensory neuron would travel is going to be that. Motor pathways are neural pathways. The neural pathways that connect our brains to the muscles in our body. They carry motor neurons that tell our body what to do. How about tell our body how to move? There we go. Autonomic, of course, is the autonomic system is the system that controls all the systems. How about controls all the things our body does, bodies do, that don't require prompting by the brain. So examples would be breathing. Like, we don't have to tell our bodies to breathe, it just does it. Digestion, we don't tell our bodies to digest, it just does it. We don't tell our bodies to blink, it just does it. We don't have to tell our mouths to swallow so we don't drown. It's all done automatically. Done automatically. And if you look, autonomic looks like automatic, and that's how I always remember it. It's all done automatically. Sympathetic is going to excite your body to be prepared for a quick response. Okay, it increases heart rate. Dilates the pupils. Sweating begins. And what's the other major thing it does? Let me cheat and look at my list that we've already made. Perfect. Blood pressure and increased blood pressure. Perfect. Parasympathetic calms your body down. It decreases your heart rate. Constricts your pupils and lowers blood pressure. Okay, so sympathetic is going to excite your body while your parasympathetic calms you down. We do clinical studies. We are looking at how one person responds to a unique event and how it impacts them. We use this information to ask big questions that can be researched. Not used for comparisons. That's the big thing about clinical studies, is that we look at how one person responds to a unique event, and then we see how that affects. All right, deep lesioning is when you burn a hole in a person's brain to stop certain brain functions. Used mostly for depression, and done with an electrode. Perfect. EEG machines, they track brain activity the more peaks. The more peaks, the more active the brain is. Perfect. CT scans are x-rays done on the brain that show the physical surroundings of the brain. Used to see brain damage by external causes, i.e., like for instance, a nail on the head. Okay, so you can see that. MRI scans, they are your most accurate, most detailed scans. They are 3D. And they show all parts of the brain. Okay. They give us the most information. PET scans are really cool. They use glucose, parentheses, a radioactive. Use glucose, which is radioactive, to track where blood flows, to see what parts of the brain are being used. It shows brain activity, specific brain activity in specific regions, which is pretty cool. So we know exactly what part of the brain is doing whatever is occurring, which is really cool. And then a functional MRI, it's a movie of how your brain functions or what it's doing. It allows to see where blood clots and lesioning are happening. Lesioning is when your brain's bleeding. Cranial bleeding are occurring. I'll change the whole thing to make it make more sense. There you go. All right, guys. So that's it. I was very generous. I hope you would agree. Very generous. Got a ton of information down for you. And I hope that helps. Now keep in mind, tomorrow you are going to have a test and it's on this content. I have definitely helped you out, so please don't think that I haven't. And yeah, so I will happily curve the test if it's necessary. And I want to make sure everyone does well. I'm not trying to, push anyone to not do well for tomorrow's test. It's all about trying to make sure that everyone is doing what they need to do. At any time, you can go back and rewatch this. If I went a little too fast, pause and go back and watch what you need. But yeah, so hopefully this helps. I look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. Now, if for some reason at 5 o'clock today when Hillsborough County announces that whether we have school or not tomorrow and we don't have school, please come back here because I will be then going through week 5 things, which will be the brain, and we'll be going through that. So I'm anticipating we'll be at school tomorrow and you'll be testing, and then we can do this in class because in case you haven't seen, it's a lot of information. So I'm hoping that is on Thursday we start the brain together in class, but if not, we will start the brain tomorrow if we have no school. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I hope that you see that I definitely tried to help you out as much as possible. If there's anything on your focus or on your study guide that you haven't finished, I would definitely check out my video from Thursday, and that'll fill everything in. So in case you haven't figured it out, in Thursday's video or today's video, I've filled in every single thing for you. So only thing you have to do is your outline all by yourself. So anyway, guys, hope you have a great rest of your day. Maybe take some naps. I know that's a nap is in my future. Anyway, have a good day, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. See ya.